hard to edit something out of the other video, so I've got to do this again. There's snow starting to melt, as you can see.
But if you look at Candice Owens' general pattern
Turning
behaviour
into
and the series of controversial
now.
positions she's taken, including making very far-out allegations.
Yeah, I can now use another one of these subwoofers into there. So I might plug another one in sometime. So yeah, I'm quite happy with it. As you can see, it sounds a lot better on that speaker as well.
Completely out of order comments and questions about her that she cannot escape.
I'll show you some of the settings on there.
It feels really outrageous. I don't recommend anyone go and look any of this up because it's
injuries from their dramatic seizure. Mr. Maduro walked with a limp.
Here's my settings.
Bruising on her face. Both pled not guilty to drug trafficking and weapons charges. Speaking to the court in Spanish, Mr. Maduro tried to interject, saying he'd been kidnapped by the United States and described himself as a prisoner of war. He insisted he was still president of his country until he was silenced.
Start with.
However, politics in Venezuela rumbles on without.
I had to turn the subwoofer up quite a bit because it definitely needs more bass. I think it sounds better with that on, that off.
But that she was still honoured to become her country's first woman president. The ceremony was intended to transmit an air of defiance to Venezuelans. Certainly supporters of the Venezuelan government remained furious over the US military intervention over the weekend. But despite the government-organised protests on the streets of Caracas, the Trump administration insists that behind the scenes, a new relationship is being forged.
I'm telling you that our conversations are that we are very much getting full, complete, and total cooperation from the government of Venezuela. And as a result of that cooperation, the people of Venezuela are going to become richer than they ever have before, and of course the United States is going to benefit from this massively.
Whatever the conversations between Washington and Caracas, Nicolas Maduro will play no part in them. It will now be the job of his former vice president to forge the direction of the country without him. Will Grant, BBC News on the Colombian-Venezuelan border.
Well, in the last few hours, opposition leader Marina Corina Machado has been speaking to the US broadcaster Fox News in what's her first televised interview since Nicolas Maduro was seized, saying his arrest is a huge step for humanity. Let's have a listen.
January 3rd,
I did have to change some things on there, so this is what I've done.
A tyranny. It's a milestone, and it's not only huge for the Venezuelan people and our future. I think it's a huge step for humanity, for freedom and human dignity. I'm planning to go back to Venezuela as soon as possible, as a decision where I am more used.
They're all working.
Maria Corina Machado. Well, the future of governance in Venezuela, of course, does remain unclear. The opposition leader who we just heard from has indicated she wants to return to the country, although the Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, once part of Maduro's inner circle, has now been sworn in by Venezuela's Supreme Court. And of course, President Trump maintains that the US is running the country. Well, our South America correspondent Ione Wells gave us her analysis on what comes next. Well,
This is how it sets it up.
against Nicolas Maduro's son, against others in and around the political sphere.
Seems updating the firmware, the network is staying on. That wouldn't connect to Wi-Fi, but I managed to update the firmware and now it connects to Wi-Fi all the time. So definitely do
but also
update
some
your
suggestion
firmware.
too that what Donald Trump wants to see is a further crackdown on drug trafficking cartels, organisations operating in and around Venezuela. And it's not very clear exactly what would be seen as measurable action in Donald Trump's eyes when it comes to those things. But I think when he talks about running the country, what he really is meaning at the moment is essentially influencing the government, being able to influence a government that he's completely ideologically opposed to, but is able to somewhat, I think through these threats that he has made, assume some kind of compliance from them now.
Heidi, what role does Machado play in all of this? She believes she legitimately won the election. She's in exile at the moment, but she doesn't seem to be playing a role in any of this at the moment.
I don't need such a bright
partly
front
because Donald
display.
Trump made it quite clear in his press conference that, in his words, he doesn't think she has the support to govern, or that the opposition doesn't have the support to govern in Venezuela. Now, the opposition, I think, would dispute that, particularly because after the last election in 2024,
Yeah, it sounds right
they
now.
gathered all these voting tallies
Putting
from
it
electronic
on
voting
the
machines,
cinema setting
83% of them
seems to
gathered. They
make the
said
treble
it proved that they,
not so much,
Maduro
it's
had won
too
that election.
trebly before.
At the moment, she's not in Venezuela, as far as we understand from the interview that she gave with Fox News. She said she hopes to return, but we don't know her whereabouts exactly. She has made it clear that she is still determined to work with Donald Trump.
That was one of the better things to put on. Turn it off, it was too trebly without that.
To work with her, work with the opposition, and she has said that she feels their candidate at that last election, Edmundo Gonzalez, should now assume the presidency. At the moment, though, this is all just rhetoric from the opposition. There isn't really any sense of a tangible plan or pathway for them to assume
There's the other
office.
one as well.
That's Ione Wells, our South America correspondent, speaking to me a short while ago. Well, President Trump has also once again spoken about annexing Greenland, telling reporters that America needs the territory from the standpoint of national security. Well, the Health Secretary here in the UK, Wes Streeting, has warned that American intervention there would undermine collective security. Here he is speaking on BBC Breakfast.
The Prime Minister has been absolutely unequivocal about this. It
Can't
is not
play
in the
any
interests
music
of
on here,
NATO,
because
the
they get
UK's national
copyright.
security or our collective security to question Greenland's future. We've heard very clearly from Denmark's leaders the implications for the NATO alliance. So again, the Prime Minister is seeking to use his influence, his relationship and his leverage to make sure that our country and the NATO alliance are stronger, not weaker.
Wes Streeting